Well, howdy there, Internet students. We have another retake practice here for Objective 6.1c. I'll do some of these problems with you, and then you can go ahead and finish it up and get on and do your retake. So this one is all about Pythagorean's theorem. That's the a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Okay? And what that means is if you have a right triangle and you find the area of the square on the legs of the hypotenuse, that's the two short sides, that will equal the area. If you add those two areas together, you'll get the area of the square on the hypotenuse, which is the longest side, the side opposite the right angle. So, and the way you find area of a square is you multiply the side times itself. So a squared plus b squared will equal c squared. So in this first problem, I'm given a and b. So I'm given this number and this number. So I'm just going to plug it into the formula. A squared plus b squared has to equal c squared if it's a right triangle. Now I'm just going to simplify this. 5 squared is 25 plus 12 squared is 144. They'll equal c squared. Add those together, that's 169. Now that's the area of the square on the hypotenuse. I have to do one more step to find c, and that's do the square root of 169, which is 13. All right? And one check that you can do is make sure that if you're finding c, that it's bigger than a or b. If you're finding a or b, it should be smaller than the long side c. All right, and the second one, I'm given a and c, and I have to find b. I'm just going to write it a squared, which would be 5 squared, plus b squared, which I don't know what that is. It's a b, equals c squared, and c is 10, so I'm going to do 10 squared on that one. Well, 5 squared is 25, plus b squared equals 100. Now to figure out what b squared equals, I'm just going to backtrack here and subtract 25 from my 100. And that gives me 75. So b is equal to the square root of 75. And to do that, I'm going to need my calculator, at least if I want to write it as a decimal. So I'm going to do the square root of 75, which I know that the square root of 64 is 8, and the square root of 81 is 9, so it should be somewhere between 8 and 9, and it looks like about 8.66 is my answer there. So B is equal to approximately 8.66 if I round to the nearest tenth here in the directions. That would give me 8.7. All right. Let's move on down to a word problem here. What you're going to have to do on these is you're going to have to actually make the triangle yourself and then figure out which side you're looking for. But it says a soccer field is 80 yards long and 35 yards wide. So I'm just going to make a quick diagram here. We want to know the diagonal distance. That would be the distance across like that. So this is actually a C that we're looking for here, the longest side. This is my right angle. So I'm going to do a squared. 35 I'm going to treat as my A, and 80 will be my B, and that will equal C squared. So I got to do some math here. I'm going to use my calculator to help me. 35 squared plus 80 squared equals 7,625. And then I need to do the square root of that. To get my side C, and that's about 87.3. So 87.3 is about my C. Again, just as a quick check, your C should be longer than either of your sides that make up the legs. All right, let's do this one here. The bottom of a ladder must be placed 3 feet from a wall. So here's our wall. Here's our ladder. It's going to lean up against our wall here, and that's 3 feet right there. The ladder is 12 feet long. That would be the slanted side. The ladder is leaning against the wall, and so this is a right angle. And we want to know how far above. So we basically want to know this side right here. Let's just call that x for now. But so I'm going to do my a squared plus b squared equals c squared. 3 and x are my a and b sides, the two shorter sides. That is equal 12 squared. And 3 squared is 9. 12 squared is 144. I'm going to take away 9 from both sides, and I get x squared equals 135. So x equals the square root of 135. Now, I know that the square root of 144 is 12. The square root of 121 is 11. So my answer should be somewhere between 11 and 12. And my calculator tells me that I get about 11.6. So that sounds about right. So about 11.6. Okay. We're going to do one more type of problem here, and then you can finish them up. I want to do number 3. We want to determine whether the given lengths can be the sides of a right triangle. If it's a right triangle, then a squared plus b squared has to equal c squared. If it's not a right triangle, then that won't be true. Now, the a and the b are always going to be the shortest side, so whatever numbers here are the shortest, that would be your a and the b. So I'm going to do 15 squared plus 36 squared, and I want to see if that's the same as 39 squared. Okay, so 15 squared plus 36 squared. That gives me 1,521, and 39 squared also gives me 1,521. So this could be the 3 sides of a right triangle. We get exactly the same for both. So a squared plus b squared does equal to c squared. In the second one, we're going to do 6 squared plus 7 squared, and that's 36 plus 42, which is 78, and then I'm going to do 8 squared, and that's 64, and since those aren't equal, we're going to say, no, that's not a right triangle. So yes on this one, no on that one. All right, you can go ahead and finish those up and do the retake as soon as possible.